Okay, here we are with, if you listen to our last mock draft, we did picks 1 to 17. We are here doing picks 18 to 32, the rest of the draft. So if you didn't hear the first half, please go back and listen to it unless your team falls into the second half, which I'm sure you're searching for. So here we go. Mr. Goodell, Alex Masados, will continue his role because it's been not even 30 seconds since we ended the last episode. So,
hey everyone, I'm back. Welcome to the second half of the first round mock draft by our draft experts, Richard Lyons and Matt Brodsky. Kicking this segment off, we have the Miami Dolphins making their second pick of the first round by way of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who do we got, Broads?
Yeah, so this is the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade. That definitely worked out for the Steelers. I'm not sure if Miami would want to redo that trade after seeing the year that Fitzpatrick had for Pittsburgh. But
what a year.
You can only have one Fitz in Miami.
That is true. They pick their fits. We'll see if they back the right one, but as of right now, they might be in the market for a safety. And with Xavier McKinney off the board, who I was going to be targeting for the Dolphins, we're going to quickly pivot. I know there's another safety floating around there who has some first-round aspirations in Grant Delpit, but that won't be the pick here. I don't value him that high. I think what Miami wants to do, and Richard, you gave them Tua earlier on in this draft at number 5. So what I'm going to do now is protect Tua and have them pick Josh Jones, the offensive lineman out of Houston. All I do is pick offensive linemen tonight. This is the 5th.
What is that?
one.
If you picked
I can't
all
believe that
4?
all 5 of them have been.
Have they all been you?
Yeah, I've picked all of them.
Jesus Christ.
So this is another offensive lineman. I don't know how much more I can talk about offensive line, but when you draft a rookie quarterback, I think you want to make sure to protect him. Josh Jones is the last tackle that I have on my board with a first-round grade. So not that I'm actually grading players. I don't do that. I should say he's the last offensive tackle that I would pick in the first round. So he kind of came on the map after a strong Senior Bowl, and I think that he's got the tools. When you have 3 first-round picks, if you're Miami, this might be a little early for Josh Jones, but protecting Tua with his history of injuries, I think is important. So give me the offensive tackle here for Miami.
Cool.
Miami, man, having a good draft here.
They have another pick, too. What do they pick?
26th.
Oh, so that's me. All right. Let's see what other offensive lineman I can dig up here.
That's funny. All right. Moving along. With the 19th pick in the draft, we have the Las Vegas Raiders picking by way of the Chicago Bears. Who are they picking?
I'm in a tough spot here.
Richard thinks the Raiders won this trade, so you better make a good pick.
Look.
Yeah, if anyone's not aware, this is the infamous Khalil Mack trade.
Yes.
Richard thinks they fleeced Chicago.
I just don't see. I don't see Mac making an impact.
I just see the Raiders with more wins than the Bears last year, but
All right, now what I really want to do to make
That's not
this
even true. Because the Raiders picked
true?
their own pick already, and this is the Bears' pick.
that makes sense.
what?
The Raiders picked 12th.
They already used their own pick, and now they have Chicago's pick. So it must be later on in the draft.
How many games did the Bears win?
I think they went like 7-9.
Are you sure it wasn't the opposite?
Didn't the Raiders go 8-8?
Yes. Pick them. I'll tell you in a second.
So what I really want to do, they went 8-8. The Bears too. That was a weird way to say it, but the Bears also went 8-8. What I really want to do is give the Raiders the most annoying quarterback room to ever exist in the NFL.
Raiders went 7-9. Bears went 8-8.
Yeah. We've definitely been operating under the fact that the Raiders went 8-8. For the last 4 episodes, we've been assuming the Raiders went 8-8.
They have a different record every episode.
Yeah. So, yeah, what I really want to do is give them the absolute worst and most annoying quarterback room you can think of with Justin Herbert, Marcus Mariota, and Derek Carr. But the reason I'm in a pickle here is because if I don't pick him now, then I'm going to have to pick him with the Patriots at 23, Justin Herbert. So
I think he'll be there.
But I don't think the Raiders are going to pick him. So they're going to pick Christian Fulton.
Okay.
Cornerback out of LSU. And look, all right, say whatever you want about the Khalil Mack trade, whether it was dumb or it was not. Last year, the Raiders had a lot of picks, and they actually got a lot of contributions out of those picks, especially on the defensive side of the ball. What was his name? Cleveland Ferrell. He wasn't. Pretty sure he was hurt in the beginning of the year, or banged up at least. He wasn't crazy good, but I'm pretty sure they drafted a safety. I forgot his name. Do you know his name off the top of your head, Matt?
Jonathan Abram.
Yeah. Oh, he was bad, you said, though, right?
Yes, he sucked.
There was someone else.
They picked Max Crosby.
Who is... Oh, he's a linebacker, right?
Of Mason.
Yeah. Yeah, he was pretty good. They were... I can't... I don't want to look into it right now. I should have before, but they made some picks in the first few rounds that ended up contributing for them pretty positively. I don't know if they're gonna throw Herbert into this quarterback mix like I would love them to embarrass themselves and do. So I think they go with Christian Fulton, get a solid cornerback on the outside there, keep building up that defense post Khalil Mack. At least it's an important position and not a punter. But
he's a punter.
Yeah, after Marquette King left. Remember that guy? Wasn't he in the XFL?
No, I don't know. Was he?
He might have been, or the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, we don't need any more. We don't need any more secondary football league talk. Since they're both out of business.
The Raiders get Christian Fulton out of LSU.
All right, good pick.
All right, nice. Okay, we're doubling back on a lot of picks here from the early first round. At pick number 20, we have Jacksonville picking again.
And there's another double.
By way of the Rams. By way of the Rams. This is the Jalen Ramsey trade, I assume.
Yep.
There's another double pick, too. Sorry.
Yeah. Triple.
Oh, wow.
There's a couple teams left that have multiple picks. Sure, so the Jaguars, they addressed the defensive side of the ball with Derek Brown with their early first-round pick. Now I think they should address the offensive side of the ball. So what I'm going to do here, and at this point with the big three wide receivers off the board, it's kind of
Justin Herbert, Gardner Minshew, quarterback battle is going to be crazy.
That honestly might be an option for them. Herbert's got to go somewhere. But no, realistically, Herbert's going to go probably top 10. So
this would have been an LA team's pick, and that's where he's going to end up in
Stop
LA.
That. Don't say that. So with the Jaguars, they're going to move forward with Minshew as their QB1. And they're going to bring him in some help with...
Let's go!
everyone's favorite quarterback, Gardner Minshew. They're going to bring him some help with the wide receiver out of Colorado, Laviska Shenault.
No way.
Yes, sir.
At 20?
At 20. Listen, the other guys you have on the board is, I was thinking with Justin Jefferson, Denzel Mims, T. Higgins, Why not Chenault? Why can't he be one of those 4 guys?
Because he's going to go to the Jets.
We saw his medicals come back healthy, according to a doctor. I now know his home address, so we're able to look him up if we want.
Hey,
But
he's
I
going to be
just
a
think-
stud.
I love Chenault. I think that he's going to be a great combination with DJ Chark, who had a great season last year and broke out with the Jaguars. Minshew and him have some connection. But the rest of the receiving group in Jacksonville is, I think all of these players are the same person and they wear different uniforms each week. Marquise Lee, Keelan Cole, who is the other one? Fucking Dede
Justin
Westbrook.
Blackman.
Dede West, Justin Blackman. Like, who are these people?
You're going to say Justin Blackman. Like
Yeah,
he's still
Dede
on
Westbrook
the
was the
team,
name
huh?
I was looking for. Yeah, Justin Blackman, who knows? He might suit up. He's still on the roster. But they're just like these guys, once you put a Jaguars uniform on, you're all the same person.
Yeah, and
So I think Chenault is the kind of guy who
That's funny.
has a way higher upside than what they currently have with Westbrook and Marquise. Is Marquise Lee even on the team anymore?
I think he is.
I mean,
I think he is.
so whoever they
He
have.
just gets hurt every season.
Yeah, I mean, Westbrook had a good first half of the year at least. I think he did get hurt, but
Well, Chark actually had a very good season.
yeah, Chark is a legitimate, I think, number 1 receiver. Him and Minshew have a good connection there.
Yeah, I love that pick for them, and I really like Chenault. He's been dropping in a lot of drafts, obviously, because of that. He had surgery on his core, whatever. I think any other year, even maybe this year, if he didn't have that injury, and he went to Colorado, obviously not as comparable to these other schools like Alabama and Oklahoma, whatever these top receivers went to. I think any other year he'd be one of the top receivers off the board. If you watch him play, he is crazy explosive. He's fast. He's big. You get the ball in his hands, and he can make guys miss. He can run them over. He can do it all. So I really like Chenault. I'm hoping that he continues to slide. In the
I just
real
came
draft.
into this night picking all of the players the Jets wanted, basically.
Yeah.
4 offensive linemen, Chenault. I'm on a mission.
And another player I want is definitely going off the board next with my picks.
Okay, let's hear it.
Right. That being said, we got the Philadelphia Eagles.
The Eagles. All right. If you watched the Philadelphia Eagles or you talked to a single Philadelphia Eagle fan last year, first they're going to talk about injuries, and second they're going to talk about their wide receiver group severely lacking talent. I'm a very known hater. I don't want to say hater. I don't want to hate him in case he ever listens to this podcast, but I'm not a fan of Alshon Jeffrey.
He does listen to this podcast, so how dare you?
Yeah, he's a friend of the show.
I'm sure he's a great guy, very nice man. I've never been a fan of him as the number 1 over there in Philadelphia. He gets nicked up. He's not that fast. He was nice when he first came into the league before you really saw what he was. He's just, a big, physical, slow kind of guy who's okay. Nelson
then we got
Aguilar.
the other guy.
Nelson Aguilar, I don't even think he's on the team anymore.
He's on the
actually.
Raiders now.
Yeah, he's on the Raiders. Mr.
Oh,
Drop.
really?
Mr. Drops a lot. He's gone. The Eagles desperately need a wide receiver for Carson Wentz to throw to. That receiver is going to be Denzel Mims, who I'm a big fan of. He's out of Baylor, played under the best head coach now in the NFL, Matt Rule, of the Carolina Panthers. No, he's 6'3". He's a big guy. He's fast. He can really do it all. He makes a lot of difficult catches, and I think with Carson Wentz, you see a lot of difficult throws made. And if you watch Denzel Mims, you see him come down with those types of throws all the time on the sideline. You throw it up to him. He can make contested catches. He's fast. He can run pretty good routes. He didn't play with the best quarterback at Baylor. I don't know his name, but wasn't
Trashy
anyone.
Garbage.
Yeah. But I think you finally get a true number 1 a good athlete in there for Carson Wentz to develop a connection with. I really like Denzel Mims. He goes to the Eagles. Except when he goes to the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at this point, a lot of the draft, the Jets' big board is getting picked early right now.
At least it's a deep receiver class, bro.
You're going to get T. Higgins, dude, your boy.
Fucking noodle.
Kind of an off-topic question. Are you guys, since you guys have been studying up so much on the draft, are you guys very, very personally invested in like every one of these picks?
Look, I'll be honest. I definitely recognize the most names that I ever have in the draft. Probably this year, maybe in my younger teen days when I was a loser about it, and I would only read that. I might have known a little more, but I'm definitely rooting for a lot of these guys to succeed. But I'll be honest, like I said, I picked a player before and I didn't have much of a scouting report. I do mostly read about, positions that my team is looking for. So I don't always have I'm not looking at safeties usually ever. The Jets will never draft a safety for the next 5 years. So it's not at the top of my board.
They will once they trade Jamal Thursday.
Yeah, so some positions I don't always, go all out in. But a lot of these receivers, these O-linemen, a few of the edge rushers, definitely developed a little personal connection.
Yeah.
All right. Nice. Well, I hope they all turn out the way you guys want.
They will!
With the 22nd pick in the draft, we have the Minnesota Vikings picking here, courtesy of the Buffalo Bills, which came over in the Stephon Diggs trade. Who are they picking, Rods?
This is a tough one. They could go receiver because they did give away Stephon Diggs. But I think that the offense is still formidable enough where, they have 2 picks. Make sure that you can get the better player, the best player available, and then maybe address the wide receiver position later in the draft because there still are. I know we've picked 5 or 6 receivers already, but there are a lot left. So here I'm going to have the Vikings go with a pass rusher who... This guy's been floating around for a little bit now, and I didn't think that he'd maybe be available this late in the draft, but it's tough to pass him up at this point. I'm going to have the Vikings pick Kayvon Chason from LSU with number 22. Again, the Vikings defense is always pretty stout. They're a dependable group. They did lose Everson Griffin this offseason. They lost... Who is it? Linval Joseph, who is on the interior of the line, but they definitely are a little bit weaker than usual at that group. So bringing in a guy like Chason, who is, we mentioned it earlier, one of those fast kind of speed pass rushers who uses his athleticism to get around the outside and get to the quarterback. Think that it would be a good direction for the Vikings to go in. They are a team that's always kind of have relied on their defense. The offense has never been their calling card necessarily. So I think that they'll continue to do that. Mike Zimmer, their head coach, is a defensive-minded head coach who likes to build up the front seven. So they have Danielle Hunter on one side, and being able to pair Chason with Hunter, I think, would immediately fill the void they have on the defensive side of the ball, and they wouldn't skip a beat by losing Everson Griffin. Griffin has been there for a long time, had a lot of success with the Vikings, and by bringing in his successor in Chason, they will be able to keep that defensive first mentality by having somebody who can get after the quarterback and disrupt the pocket and very quickly.
Yeah, I like that pick. And obviously, they do have a void at receiver, but you mentioned it before. This is a very deep class. I think in the real draft, it might be a little more spread out than we're making it. I think a lot of teams are going to have that mentality of we can get a guy like this later, which might make them, reach on some other positions that are not as deep. But, the Vikings pick 3 picks later, so
right.
They're going to have their choice of guys. And the special one team ahead of them does have a receiver need, but not 2 teams. So still could be a guy there. But I do like that pick. And he'll look good in the Vikings jersey.
For sure.
That's always big. If you're going to look good in the jersey, look good, play good, baby. But yeah, I mean, he slid far here. You don't usually see him slide this far. But I think he might. I mean, there's always a guy like that just, he gets a lot of hype.
It's tough finding one of those. Like, he's one of those guys where you don't know who really needs him, or who is he doesn't have an ideal fit in the middle. He's gonna go somewhere between 10 and 20. You think, but
I think
he could fall a little bit.
He just didn't have. I don't want to say sack numbers are everything, but he just never had that, standout production. That's what makes me nervous about it. You're kind of banking on something he's never really proven to be great at yet. He's very explosive and athletic, but does that mean he's a great pass rusher? I don't know.
Well, he's also Chaison's was a redshirt sophomore, so he really only had 1 season as a starter, which was this past year at LSU. This I'm looking at his numbers now. This was the only season that he did start. He had 5 tackles in 2018. So
yeah,
I'm going to assume. Well, he might have gotten hurt actually because he had 27 the year before. But it's just But he's one of the guys that you said raw talent, where he just has those physical traits, and he's young. He's 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So see if he can put it together.
Yeah. No, I think he has a lot of potential, but that's it's just risky if you want them to be your next edge rusher. It's very hard to develop.
Well, that's why too, because they have Danielle Hunter on the other side, he's a beast. He's a legitimate top edge rusher in the NFL.
Yeah.
What's going on with Everson Griffin?
Did he retire?
No, he's a free agent. He's gonna be on. He'll probably wait till after the draft. That's what a lot of these guys do now.
Seahawks are planning to pursue him, I'm seeing.
All right, we ready to move on?
Yeah. Next pick we have the Evil Empire, New England Patriots.
Now, in this scenario, Justin Herbert's on the board, people. Do the New England Patriots make Justin Herbert the successor to Tom Brady? Not in the Memo mock draft.
Beard with a bottle opener.
It's scratching it.
The Memo mock draft is
You're not taking him?
I'm not. I think they have.
In the first round.
I don't know. You have the next pick with another 40-year-old quarterback. So, I think they do have some faith in this guy Stidham. Some faith, bro. I don't think Herbert will honestly fall this far in the real draft, but if he did, doesn't seem like a Belichick type of guy to me. He doesn't really fit that mold of quarterback. He's not similar to a Tom Brady type at all. He's not that accurate with the football. He seems to be more of an athlete, and you probably have to work on a lot of, technical aspects of throwing the football with him. But they have a very, very severe and dire need at wide receiver. And I think a guy on the board right now who might be a little surprising to go in the first round, not to everyone, I really like Ayuk, Brandon Ayuk. I think, out of Arizona State. I think he fits the mold of a Patriots receiver very well. He's a smaller guy, but he you throw him up the ball and he can jump over anybody. Like, he will make a contested catch. He's really fast. He has good, precise routes and a lot of yards after the catch ability. And if you've looked at the Patriots receivers of the past, that's what they thrive on. Dink and dunk, get open, smaller guys like Edelman who can take the ball and find the little holes and, explode. I think Ayuk fills that role. They picked N'Keal Harry in the first round last year, who did not look great.
Also went to Arizona State.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to stop there. I like Ayuk over Justin Herbert on the board. I think And, like I said, maybe a lot of people aren't expecting him to go here over some other guys that are on the board, receiver-wise. But I feel like the Patriots always go, out of left field
They buck
route.
the trend a lot. Yeah, whatever you think you know about them, they'll do something else. That's fair. I mean, listen, with these wide receivers, who knows? Like we saw last year, DK Metcalf, he was like a top 10 pick projected for a while, and then all of these guys went before him. It's wide receiver picks, I feel like, have a lot to do with scheme and what the offense wants to do, who can fit in there. So Ayuk could be a good fit for New England.
Yep.
Right. Moving on. We got the New Orleans Saints. Who's going to be the next guy to complain about getting fucked over in the playoffs?
It's funny you mention that, because this is going to serve as almost a kind of replacement for the guy who was the main culprit, again, in the Minneapolis Miracle. As we all know, 3 years ago now, was it?
Yep. It was 2018.
Yeah. So this past year they lost to the Vikings. The year before they lost to the Rams, and then they lost to the Vikings. Okay, so that play was Stephon Diggs' touchdown, walk-off game winner in the divisional round of the playoffs. That happened because a man named Marcus Williams, I don't know, how do you want to describe what he did? Completely crumbled as a human being. Maybe just forgot that he was playing football. I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. What happened in that play?
He choked.
Yeah, he just didn't really make the tackle. So he's a safety for the Saints. What I have them doing right now is picking up a brand new safety from LSU. His name is Grant Delpit. So they're going to make sure that mistake doesn't happen again. The Saints are a team, they have one of the more complete rosters in the NFL, I think. They don't really have any glaring needs. Could have been receiver here, but they did sign Emmanuel Sanders, who I think that's a big-time move. If you have Michael Thomas and then Emmanuel Sanders is your number 2, I know he's getting a little bit older, but still, he's got a lot left in the tank. So I'm going to have them passing on a receiver right now. And a guy like Delpit, who the Saints also lost Von Bell this offseason, who was a safety for them for the past couple of years. So they probably want to help out their secondary a little bit. Delpit is a guy who had slid a little bit from where his original draft stock might have been. He does have an issue. I guess actually it kind of spits in the face of anything I just said. He's not the best tackler. Neither was Marcus Williams on that play. But I like what Delpit can bring to the table in terms of his physicality as a defensive back. He played a lot of 2019 battling an ankle injury. So I think that's going to cause his stock to drop a little bit. But the talent is there. He had a great 2018 season, which really put him on the map. He's another guy that was like a top 10 pick going into last season. For a Saints team who can kind of take a chance on a guy, given their current situation, one of the better teams in the NFL, I think they could get a big-time reward from Delpit here.
Delpit on pit. Nice. Next up, we have, again, the Minnesota Vikings.
Okay. So there's two routes we can go here. We spoke about before, the Vikings had their other first-round pick from the Stephon Diggs trade. So there is a need at wide receiver. They lost Xavier Rhodes this offseason, who was their starting cornerback. They do have a need at corner. I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson out of LSU to replace Stephon Diggs. Obviously played with Joe Burrow, in one of the most prolific offenses in college history. He's pretty good all-around athlete. You know, he's not a burner like Ruggs. You know, he might not be as big and physical as Lamb, something like that. But he's a good athlete. He's a pretty decent route runner. He's not that physical, which might not fit their style too well, given they like to run the ball. I don't know how great of a blocker he is. But I just think that you can't go into the season with Tajay Sharp as your number 2.
He's on the Vikings now?
Yeah, they have Thielen and then Tajay Sharp. Do you want to wait till the end of the second round? Did they have a second round pick? I don't know. Do you want to wait that long to fill that void? They could go Jeff Gladney here out of TCU.
They picked 58th.
Okay, not too bad.
Late.
But yeah, I think they go Justin Jefferson here. Get some young wide receiver talent in there. And hey, they could go Justin Herbert maybe.
Think so?
You never know. Maybe if he slips that far, but I like Jefferson.
Kirk Cousins guy.
I do like Cousins. I think he gets a lot of flack. Yeah.
Why would they take Herbs?
They wouldn't. They took Justin Jefferson.
Justin, same first name. Justin Jefferson.
They got the better Justin.
Jefferson's good. I'm a little.
He's a descendant of Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, nice. With that bloodline.
Wow.
I don't know. I'm not so sold on Jefferson. I feel like him out of all these other receivers, he's a product of LSU's offense, Joe Burrow, and he honestly, having Jamar Chase on the other side of him, who's an underclassman, who was awarded the best receiver in college football. So he probably didn't go up against many number 1 corners, which is why he had like stupid production. But like you said, I mean, you have 2 first-round picks. You can kind of take a chance on a guy to replace Stephon Diggs. But I definitely think Justin Jefferson, if he does go in the first round, will be a little bit later than some of these other guys.
Yeah, that's why 25th pick, almost as late as you can get.
Fair enough.
All right.
Jamar Chase, though.
Yeah, we'll look out for him next year.
Ooh.
In the 3rd annual Memo. Matt, you're picking again for the fucking annoyings.
Another pick for the Miami Dolphins.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, where we stand with Miami. Go ahead.
What is this trade from?
This is
Laramie
Tunsil.
Tunsil.
Yes, Houston Texans pick. So they addressed 2 big needs earlier on in this mock draft with Tua and Josh Jones on the offensive side of the ball. Now what we're going to do is transition a little bit to defense. They're a team that made a lot of good moves in the offseason on the defensive side. They brought in Byron Jones, the cornerback. They brought in Shaq Lawson and Emmanuel Ugba for the defensive line. But what they really need now is going to be a pass rushing linebacker. So what we're going to take is Zach Bond from Wisconsin. Bond played a lot of outside linebacker, off ball, kind of was able to rush the passer a lot at Wisconsin. So I think that he is another guy who is extremely versatile and can be a part of a lot of different sets on the defense. He's really fast. He's a very, very fast linebacker who can cover tight ends. if he has to drop back in coverage. There's a couple other linebackers that are on the board here. I think this is our first Isaiah Simmons, but linebackers, and not really a lot of them are getting picked very high in this mock draft at least. But out of the linebackers that are on the board, you have Zach Bond, Patrick Queen from LSU, and Kenneth Murray from Oklahoma. I think Bond has the best mix of ability of the three of them, where he's not really a liability in any one position. And for a Dolphins team who they don't really have any pass rushers, Cameron Wake isn't there anymore. He's the only notable guy that I remember. They have a good secondary with Byron Jones and Xavier Howard for sure. But I think Bond is a good fit here for somebody who can both rush the passer and cover a little bit over the middle.
I like that pick.
You don't even
I forgot
know who
about
that
him.
is.
Yes, I do. Zach Bond, edge out of Wisconsin. No, I know.
One thing I'm noticing about this mock draft so far is no running backs, no tight ends,
Mm-hmm.
I think
no
I don't
not
think
too
you're
many corners. I feel like there's normally more corners at this point.
The corner, it's not that deep of a corner draft. I mean, they're good, but it's really Okuda and then Henderson, and then it's kind of a toss-up.
Yeah. Running backs and tight ends, though, you make a good point.
There's no Zeke this year, no Fournette, but it also could be that there's not a demand anymore from the teams, that they're just not getting the hype that those guys got. They're seeing these stud running backs sort of either fall off, or teams are stuck in these cap situations with them. I think teams might.
I think it just comes down to positional value.
Yeah,
where we've seen late round running backs produce just as much as we've seen early round running backs.
Yep.
Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Well, he went in the first round.
All right. What? Oh,
Josh Jacobs, you said?
Late first round.
Oh, okay. Well, okay.
You could get there's a couple that could go late first. I don't know if Richard's going to pick any, but
I ain't picking Dobbins.
he's the best.
All right. Well, moving on. We have the Seattle Seahawks picking at 27.
Nice.
That's who they pick. Bleep. Okay. They're losing Clowney, obviously. It seems to be the case. They do have a needed edge, but Matt did just pick Bond, who was probably the next best edge on the board, unless you want to go Gross Matos. I'm not going to pick Gross, because that would be gross. No, I like him. But, look, man, how long are we going to have Russell Wilson and say every year, someone block for this fucking guy?
Mm-hmm.
They have a need on the interior O-line, a guy I really, really like. You never know where the centers are going to go, but Cesar Ruiz out of Michigan. Shout out to Oren.
Good pick.
Yeah, he's definitely the best center in the class. He's really athletic. He's powerful. He could probably play guard too. I think any center can also play guard. I said, what's it called? You need the block for Russell Wilson, but his worst trait at the moment is probably pass blocking. But they like to run the ball, man. I think you can teach him a little technique, and as a center, at least you're not going against the edge rushers of the NFL. But they have a need on the interior. He could play any of those three positions: left guard, center, right guard. He's just like a really powerful, athletic guy. I think you could get a lot out of him. I like Cesar Ruiz. First center off the board. First interior lineman off the board in the Memo mock draft. He played 31, let me read, 31 games at Michigan, 26 at center, 5 at right guard. So
it's a good pick. I mean, like he said, it's tough to like get the value of an interior lineman.
Mm-hmm.
It's don't really see too many of them going in the first round, but for a team like Seattle, who really is desperate for offensive line help.
Right now, the top center on their depth chart is Ethan Pocic, who has started 30 games in his career in 3 years.
He was with Minnesota, right?
No, he's been with Seattle his whole career. Last year was his first year at center, and he only played 4 games. So he's not that experienced. Yeah, so I think they bring in...
They also do have a very, very big need at edge rusher, though, like you said.
Yeah, I could have went Gross Matos, but I just like Ruiz better at this point.
Makes sense. All right, so that is the Seattle Seahawks. Alex, where are we at?
We're at pick number 28. We have defending AFC 1 seed, the Baltimore Ravens.
Do they hang a banner for that, defending AFC 1 seed?
Yeah.
The Chiefs won the AFC. But, I mean, if you want to be one and
you
done, you want to hang the banner for one and done by losing to Ryan Tannehill. This is a
Getting
team that's
crushed.
probably looking for a quarterback. No, I'm kidding. So the Ravens are an interesting team because they're kind of similar to the Saints, what I just spoke about them, where they don't have many holes on their roster. Obviously, they went 14-2 last year. They're a complete team, strong secondary. They brought in Earl Thomas, Marcus Peters last season. The offense, is a well-oiled machine with Lamar Jackson working the middle. So I don't really know who to pick here, but give me a second to stall a little bit more. I'm going to take Patrick Queen, the linebacker from LSU, for the Ravens. If you're looking at a weakness with the Ravens defense, it probably would be the middle of the field, their linebacker position. They brought in Calais Campbell for the defensive line. They still have Matthew Judon. I don't know if he's going to get an extension or be traded. He got franchise tagged, so we'll see. But then the secondary, like I mentioned, Earl Thomas, Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey is a good corner. So there's kind of a bit of a hole there in the linebacker position. So I think Patrick Queen is a good pick here. He's honestly at 28. I think he would be a good pick for any team because this is a little bit later than I think he's probably going to go on Thursday night. But he's kind of like a do-it-all linebacker, defensive leader type guy where he's more of a traditional middle inside linebacker where he's not like an elite pass rush kind of guy. He's not someone who's going to line up outside. He'll be in the middle of the defense calling the plays. He's got good speed to go sideline to sideline. He can cover if you need him to cover. Again, it's like a tight end, but just kind of a solid, like a smart, experienced linebacker to put in the middle of the defense. I think Patrick Queen is a good pick there.
I like that pick.
I don't think he's going to be around until pick 28.
Yeah, we have a lot of guys falling. But that, doing these mock drafts, you realize how there's always going to be guys that fall, Yeah. Like, if we picked all these guys available, if they got picked, then someone else would be there,
Yeah.
Obviously.
It's possible for sure.
Maybe
many
after
teams in the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe after we're done with the Chiefs pick, we can do a little bit of guys
that's left.
You guys think are intriguing still on the board.
Good point. Justin Herbert will probably be one of those guys at this point.
Yeah, looking at the last 4 teams for sure.
Yeah.
Pick 29, we have the team that trounced the Ravens. We got the Tennessee Titans.
Okay, so for the Titans, I'm going to have them picking a guy I just talked about before for a second, Yatir Gross-Matos out of Penn State. He's an edge rusher. They have a need at edge. They've been looking at Jadeveon Clowney in free agency, but no one knows what's happening with that guy. He's a bigger guy. He's not like a Chason, small and athletic. He's a bigger. He's like 6'5", 260. He's really physical, and he's one of those, effort guys. Like, he's always putting in 100% on every pass rush. But at this point in the round, you're not getting your Chase Young. You're not getting a stud edge rusher. You're getting someone you're going to have to put in work with and teach him a little more technique, which he needs. But at the 29th pick overall, you get a guy who is considered one of the better edge rushers in the class. I like that pick for the Titans. It's not a deep class at edge rusher. How many do we have in the first round? 4 now, and they're all pretty.
Number 4, yeah.
They're all pretty spread out. You had Chase on didn't go till the 20th pick or something, or the 22nd, and then Bond, and now Matos. So you had Chase Young at 2. They don't have another edge rusher pick till the 20s. So it's definitely it's risky to take one, but I don't see any other players that really fit what Tennessee needs, and that's also really talented. I mean, they're still talented players on the board, but they're not just going to take Justin Herbert after signing Tannehill,
Yeah. No, listen, Gross Matos, he's a good project kind of guy. I think he's got the tools to be a good pass rusher. I think he's one of the more he's pretty inexperienced too, similar to Chase on. I think he only started a year or 2 years at Penn State, but showed a lot of good things. So he'll probably go in round 1 because of the need for the lack of pass rushers in this class. But he'll probably be a guy who you want to rotate into the defensive line for a couple of games before.
Yeah, you don't want to throw him to the wolves.
Yeah. All right.
Right.
That is Tennessee. We're almost wrapping this up.
Yeah, we're close. With the 30th pick, we have the Packers.
Okay. So I've been talking about this for a while in terms of Green Bay neglecting the offensive side of the ball and year after year not picking offensive players, giving Aaron Rodgers a bunch of garbage to work with. I looked it up, the Packers have picked, since Aaron Rodgers was drafted, what year was he drafted in? Do you guys know? Was it 2009?
No, 06 or 05.
Oh, okay.
They won the Super Bowl in 2011.
Oh, shit. Okay, so yeah, even back then, since Aaron Rodgers has been their starting quarterback, they've picked 2 offensive players in the first round, and they were both offensive linemen. So they haven't given Aaron Rodgers a skill position player in the first round since he's been on the Packers.
You've talked about that before.
Which, I mean,
pretty absurd.
It's crazy to think about. I mean, I guess they've been picking late a lot of years. I'm sure they had other needs, but you figured they'd take one receiver or one running back or just somebody who can help out arguably the most talented quarterback of all time. So we're going to finally end that streak here. I'm going to have the Packers taking tight end Cole Kmet from Notre Dame. He is a 6'6" tight end who's physical, he's big, he's more of a receiver than a blocker. I compare him, from what I've seen, just a little bit to Evan Ingram of the Giants, who's basically a wide receiver, but just huge and a mismatch across the whole offense. If you want to put him against a linebacker or a slot corner, whoever is going to D up against him, he's going to have the advantage. So I'm going to take Cole Kmet. And I know it's funny because the Packers they've tried to bring in tight ends the past couple of years with Jimmy Graham. They brought in Mercedes Lewis, I think, or they had a couple tight ends that they bring in. Martellus Bennett, I think, went there for a little bit. And they never really have success, so I'm starting to wonder if Aaron Rodgers just doesn't really look to tight ends that much. which I'm sure, a little bit more research I can kind of figure that out, like how much he likes tight ends. But it's interesting that he's never been like a big tight end guy. But what I think makes Cole Kmet different than the regular tight ends that have been on the Packers is that he is like big, fast, like basically, like I said, a wide receiver kind of guy who is just another big body for him to throw to. So I'll take Cole Kmet from Notre Dame.
I like it.
Do you?
Nice.
Do you really like it?
No. I think you're mad dumb.
All right. 31st pick of the draft, defending NFC champs, San Francisco 49ers. Second pick of the first round. Who they got?
Okay. I don't know if he'll go this early in real life.
Herbert.
Spit it
No.
out.
I'm really torn between two guys right now, and they play different positions. They're both on offense. I'm going to have them taking Jalen Reagor out of
Ooh.
TCU. I spoke about their need for a receiver earlier, and I had them going corner. They get Reagor, who is on the smaller side, but he's a speedster. He's a burner. You put him on the other side of Deebo Samuel. You got a nice 1-2 punch. It adds another dimension to that offense. Like I said, I think Kyle Shanahan can scheme any good offense anyway, but there's nothing wrong with having that home run deep threat. They're going to run the ball. They're going to be what they were last year. But you add someone like Reagor, who is one of the fastest receivers in the draft. That opens up a new dimension. Play action, throw it deep, cut him before the season starts. No, but the other guy I was looking at was
You got a lot of options with that guy.
yeah. I was looking at what's his name? Is it Isaiah Wilson?
The offensive lineman.
Yeah, I was thinking of throwing another O lineman on there, but I didn't. So they get.
It's funny.
Jalen.
He ran the combine. His 40 time was like 4.4 or like 4
Yeah,
something.
it wasn't what people thought it would be.
And then at the pro day, which was like a virtual pro day, he ran a 4.27. So what? Like, what am I supposed to believe?
I feel like he probably put on some weight for the combine to like appear more physical and bigger because he's 5'11", and it kind of ruined his testing time.
I mean, there's plenty of small receivers height-wise.
Yeah, I don't fucking know what they tell these guys to
I
do.
just think that they're lying at the pro day. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, he didn't run the 4.27. It is false.
All right,
Yeah.
so we're at the final pick of the first round.
Yeah, man.
Last pick of the draft. We got defending Super Bowl champs, Kansas City Chiefs. What's their
It's a
most
tough one.
glaring need, Matt?
I mean, I don't know. They're very, very good. They might need...
They're pretty good.
They're a pretty good team. Herbert could be in play. Jalen Hurts, perhaps. I'm going to go... And they actually could be in play for a running back here. We don't have any running backs in the first round. Damian Williams is, like, decent. I think when you
Sucks.
have that... When you have that passing offense, you can make any average running back look pretty good. But what I'm going to go here is corner. I think that they could use some help in the pass defense. They have Tyrann Mathieu back there, but aside from that, there's no real notable names. They got rid of Marcus Peters mid-season last year. But that's also not true, what I just said about Marcus Peters. I think he was on the Rams mid-season and got traded to the Ravens. But he was with the Chiefs at one point, and he was pretty good. But they're gonna draft Cameron Dantzler from Mississippi State. Dantzler is one of my favorite corners in the draft. I'm surprised that he fell this far because Richard took all the tight ends. But what I like about Dantzler is he's like 6'2". He's very long, very rangy kind of cornerback who can just like stick onto guys and keep them in front of him.
You picked the only tight end in the draft.
Pause.
Yeah, I picked a tight end. And so Dantzler, he's not like the most physical tight end. Look what you made me do.
Oh,
he's not the most physical cornerback, but he's big and long and.
Is he?
What I'm saying is, if he gets beat, he can make up. He can make up the ground. Like he can.
If the big and long gets beat.
If you're gonna beat off Cameron Dantzler, he's gonna be able to make up for it with his explosiveness. Can cover a lot of ground. So give me Cam Dantzler, number 32. Yeah, no, he's really gonna leave his mark on a guy.
If there's guys in front of him, he will explode and leave his mark.
He'll get all over him.
Jesus Christ.
So there you have the first round of the Memo mock draft.
The explicit version.
The explicit version, yes. We'll be airing on ESPN.
Yeah. So Alex said before, there's still a lot of talented players on the board if we want to quickly run through here. Now look, we know that we're usually 100% accurate.
No.
With our picks.
This is a spoiler alert. We might have to label this spoiler alert.
Yeah, because
if you're still here at almost hour 3, then God damn it. Get a life.
Thank you for listening, but get out more, man.
Yeah.
Rich, give me 3 guys who you think could go round 1 that didn't go round 1 tonight.
Okay. So I brought it before, Isaiah Wilson. I think we will see more O-linemen go in the first round than what we had here, because there is a desperate need for the position in the league. And with the deep receiver, look, I mentioned this during the draft. I don't think that many receivers are going to go in the first round, like how we did it. And if you're a team, yeah, that's a lot. If you're a team that's expecting to, wait till the second round, draft a receiver, if you look at our draft, you're probably not that happy.
No, not at all.
You have maybe Michael Pittman I really like. That was left on our board. T. Higgins. I really like Chase Claypool. I've talked about it before, but these are guys that a lot of people are expecting to go late second and in the third round that are now the only ones available to start the second round in our draft. But, yeah, so I like Isaiah Wilson out of Georgia. He played opposite Andrew Thomas. He's huge. He's like Mekhi Becton size. Not as athletic, but there's a lot of stuff to like there. He's a right tackle, so, he's more of a developmental guy. But, yeah, I like him. I like Pittman, like I said. And because when I had the draft going here on the Draft Network just to, keep track of the picks. And it once I selected the last guy, the board went away, so I don't see anymore who was left. But
where does Herbert go?
Oh yeah,
you guys mocked him nowhere in the first round,
which is not going to happen.
Yeah,
he's go top 10.
He might.
Hey, look, if teams are as smart as us, then
right?
he's not gonna go in the first or second round or be drafted. He will not be on a single team because he sucks. No. Sorry, yes. I'm just trying to...
I think Herbert is definitely a guy who will go in the first round that we didn't mock here, given the trade situation. But
where do you see him going if this happens?
If what happens?
This mock right here.
If he's available in the second round?
Yeah.
If the Chargers can get him in the second round, listen, I mean, I don't think that they'd pass him up in the second.
Wow, Matt thinks he's so good.
I think he'll be. I mean, you look at the teams that pick in the top of the second round. The Bengals, the Colts pick second. They have the second pick in the second round, so they could pick him, even though they have the best quarterback in the league right now.
I also like Hurts.
I like Jalen Hurts. I like him a lot. I hope the Chargers pick him.
Yeah, I like him as a later round pick. Donovan Peoples-Jones.
What is he?
He's a receiver at a Mish.
The running backs, like Alex mentioned, DeAndre Swift, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins. I think it's possible one of them go in the first round. I wouldn't be surprised if Jonathan Taylor gets picked because I think he's the best running back on the board. You could have a team like the Chiefs, like I mentioned, just try to grab a running back to round out their offense. But yeah, I mean, I think for the most part, I don't really have any guys that I thought were round one locks that didn't get picked here except from Justin Herbert.
Yeah, most of the guys that usually go in the first round were, yeah, like I said before, I just don't think that many receivers are going to go because I think teams know how deep the class is, and that it would just be a nightmare for anyone waiting for one of those receivers.
If they start going, though, you might have teams jump up and get them while they still can. Could go both ways.
That's what Richard said with the chain reaction thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Once the first few start going off the board, you might see some other teams start.
Get them while they're hot.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're good here.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, we did the whole draft straight through, but we split it up in two parts. So if you've listened to both of them, get your mental health checked. Probably not doing too well. No, thank you for tuning in to either one of the drafts. We really appreciate it. We hope we didn't spoil draft night for you. I know it's really a nice thing to be surprised by the pick, but when you're dealing with Rich and Matt and Mr. Goodell Masados, you just can't go wrong. And
we're very excited.
Yes, thank you so much. We're very, very excited for this damn draft. Give us something.
Yes.
Everyone, have a good draft week.